Okay, so next step is just like, how can I move things around? So a box is added. When I click on it, I can select it. So a very commonly used tool is this one, like kind of a handle that does moving in specific directions, rotation, and so, or sometimes you just like grab scaling, scale it up in one direction or from middle in every. So in any specific direction, or just you rotate. So like every handle used as their own. I recommend you to do the transformation you want. So this is a very efficient pipeline to keep your original object in point 000 and do your transformation not on the on here, but get into your object tree. So you see that I just dived into the node tree group of the object box. You see the box is here, and I press tab. So this is where the beauty of Houdini begins. So we start adding nodes or operations. For any operation, we have a node. So in Houdini, you hear these words to be repeated again and again, like sop, or I don't know, dop, or chop. Like this is like a weird language, but and they're changing it. So sop is basically surface operators. So operator is basically a node. Anything that does anything to the surface, like modeling or volumes and stuff, is surface operators. And DOPs are dynamic operators. So that's the like legacy terminology of Houdini. And chops are channel operators, or anything related to movement, like animating and creating graphs and timelines. VOP is vex operators, which is shading language and like a visual language. ROPs are render operators and stuff like that. So I start adding the first thing that I want to move this box up, as simple as that. So I want to transform that. So instead of going and like grabbing it and moving it around, so I start like adding a transform node. So there are some ways to do that. So you can press tab here and type transform, or go and find it, tab, go to the where the transform is. Transform, yeah, it's I don't know where it is, but just type. So I just press tab and type transform and add it. You see that it doesn't do anything, it doesn't move. So if I just say that the transformation, I just want this object to move on y direction like 3 units, nothing happens because these two nodes are not connected. So I grab and create the connection. Again, nothing happens. The reason is that you have to know how node viewing works. So you see that the blue tag is on the box node and not on the transform node. So it means that the visibility of the function is on the box, not the transform. If I turn the blue tag, so you see that on the transform, you see that the transform node starts to function. So if you go up, you see that we have a blue and a green tag on these geometry level surface operators or surface nodes. Blue is simple, turn it in on and off, visibility. Green is selectability, so if I turn it off, I cannot select this object anymore. If I turn it on, I can select it. So let's get inside again. So I just grabbed the box, I moved it up. So what you can do, so let's do a surface operation. So let's say that I'm gonna select all the faces that this box has, and I'm gonna extrude them. So you see that the selection type that this box has at the moment was on the object selection. So when I press object, you see that the node viewer just jumps up to the object level selection. But I want to get inside. So it means that I want to do something with the polygon group. So I just want to select a bunch of polygons. You see that here I can select points, edges, primitives, and vertices, breakpoints. And if you press on your keyboard to or numpad keyboard, so like edges 3, so you can select the edges that you want. So I go to the box, so you can select the edges that you want, and then you can add extrusion. So let's say you wanna select like these faces. I don't want to select the top and the bottom face, just in case. I don't know why, but I just select them and I add extrusion. I go to the polygon and poly extrude. You see that poly extrude is added after that. I'm happy that it's been added after that. So if I click on that, I just add extrusion, and I want the extrusion. So you see that every operator you add, they have their own word. So like let me create that one more time. I selected a bunch of faces and I pressed on the poly extrusion. It has added that. So if I select it anytime, you see that it has added this little red handle and a bunch of like different attributes here that I can use. And also here I can say that, so every node that is generated, the node tree, the symbolic shape of the operation, which is like this box, is added in this node viewing window, and whatever is selected, the parameters, Houdini calls them parameters, are shown here. So I'm gonna say that, okay, so I have selected poly extrude and I wanna say that apply on individuals instead of like on all of them together. Okay, so we've done something, but you see that extrusion has happened after transformation. The right way is that I just wanted that to be before that. So it's a good time to do a so first of all, I just want to show you a good a very efficient, quick efficient way of working in Houdini. So it's good to have a large node tree in front of you to work easily. So that's why I click on this like little icon, little triangle here, to organize what we call pane, or just like panels. So we are called them collapsing panes, or so these are used for organizing. I click on that, you see that it just bangs, close that part. So I have much more free space here, but the point is, where are my parameters. So every time you press P on keyboard, they show up again. So you don't need to be worried about them. So you load them in and out whenever needed. Okay, so this is what I want to show you. So I don't want this connection. So I want this to be disconnected and reconnected here in the middle. So first of all, you can just grab it and wiggle it so it just disconnects. Or just in your keyboard, the most similar thing to this, to scissors, is word Y in your keyboard. So you press Y and then you see that a scissor shows up. And then you cut it. You cut the connection and then this is get disconnected. So how to reconnect it? So you see that the extrusion is gone. So I just click on the visibility. So I just want to show the visibility or display on the transform node. So the blue, as I said, the blue flag is for visibility. I just click on the blue flag or the eye. So it's there and not extruded. So I just grab the extrusion node and just move it in the middle, and just this automatically snaps and grabs it and says, hey, do you want to be part of this tree? And I say yes, be there. So you see that the extrusion happens there in time 0. So that's the right extrusion. So you see that this is different. It's the extrusion, so it's different than the extrusion that happens after transformation. So let's set it again. So this is not what we want. So let's say this is what you want. Okay. So again, so kind of like, so this is construction and this is transformation. Transformation is usually comes after you make your like car in the factory, and then you transport it to the client and move around. So it's good to do the construction before the transformation. Okay, so one thing is added, created. So let's say that you have so just want to go over like basics again. I have talked about tabs, environment, node viewing, parameters, and we've got like this. So pane view. So there are a lot of like viewing things here. So you can arrange a lot of stuff here. So let's say you want to render this right away and have a look at it constantly. So you go and create a new pane tab type, like kind of this time I'm gonna add a render viewer. Okay, and just press render. And I just, every time that I work, I just come here and just see, okay, so this is my stuff. Especially, so then I go back and work. So it's just very handy. Especially, so like you go to the material palette. I say, okay, how this look like in a, I don't know, just when it's basic liquid. Let's see the rendering of that. So there's no light here, so it doesn't look nice. So, but yeah, that's how it works. So let's go back and have a principal shader on it as it was. Okay, so you see that, yes, just drag and drop. Yes, so like you go to the material palette and just say, let's say gold, drag and drop it here, and it's golden here, but because there's no lighting, you can go to the light and add an environmental light and see it better. But just let's not do it now because I just want to keep here clean. So I just undo that. And I'm doing that, the material one. Okay. So this is how you add these like panes. I don't know what they call, they do not call it panels, but that's how it's called anyway. So here in Houdini, okay, so you've got plenty of other stuff, like a very cool thing. So I'm gonna add, so let's say I'm gonna animate that one. So I'm gonna animate that, and I'm gonna show you this. What is this pose tool? This is a tool that is used for animating characters, and it's very handy, and you cannot find anywhere else. It's so cool. So I grab this, and I want to. So let's add just a sphere. Let's keep that for just the simulation. So I add a sphere in the middle, and I'm gonna animate this sphere. This sphere is supposed to move from here to like around 10 in 100 frames. So at the moment, my timeline. So this is the next thing in Houdini. You got a timeline, pretty much like every other 3D package. Playback stuff. And your time, your duration is from frame 1, not second. Frame 1 to frame 240. It means that if your frame per second is 24 frames per second, you got like 10 seconds. But I'm just gonna go make it like 100 or 50. I don't know, 50. And so if I press, so when my mouse cursor is on node viewing window, node viewer, I just press P again, and I see the transformation attributes. So I can press K on keyboard. K stands for keyframe. So I just added a keyframe. So I go to the last frame, move it forward, press K again, or I turn on auto key. So you know what it does. So if I come to the middle here, if I move it, so it automatically receives a keyframe. So this one has been keyframed, isn't it? So if you go to the pose tool, so nothing special happens here, but you got this like beautiful motion path trail or motion path option here that you can turn it on, and you see the motion path. So it's not just a viewing motion like tool. You can literally manipulate your motion path, which is very cool. So you can grab that and move it around. So you say that it has to go here instead of there. So the motion path changes. You might say that I'm gonna add a keyframe here. So you add a keyframe here by holding Control and click on your motion path. And you can just change the timing of your sphere. So you see that here just fast reaches there and then has a slow motion there. Just okay. So if I play it, that's not the right speed. It's because real-time play toggle is not on. I click on real-time toggle, which is here, and now when I play it, you see that just fast and then slow and then returns back. Let's add a keyframe here and move it there. Or yeah, it's like boom. So this is a very handy tool, especially when it comes like for animating limbs, like arms and hands, and so like a character movement. So you can create like beautifully like those arcs, animation arcs. Okay, I delete my sphere, so everything else gets deleted. So let's go back to, so you see that navigation, as I said, is holding Alt, click, middle click, and right click. If you want that to come to your frame, so frame selected in Maya is F. Here is spacebar F. Spacebar A is like frame all. So we have a box here inside. So what if we have two of them? And I copy this one and duplicate this. So I've got box number 1 and box number 2. I just make the second one a bit smaller. So I press W in keyboard. So what it does, it just, W stands for wireframe. In Maya you press 4, here you press W. And it's basically here. Shading stuff is just like wireframe shaded, or like many work like this, smooth wireframe shaded, or just like smooth shaded. Just these are stuff here. So I just go wireframe, and in the transform I press P again. Just want to make the uniform scale a bit smaller. So because I just want to use that for fluids, so maybe this one, this outer box will be a container. I just rename them. It's good to rename your nodes. Don't worry if you forget the type of the node, because it's written on top. It's written on top of them. So like this is a geometry node, and this is gonna be fluid. This container node might, okay. So in the transform, I like to do some like rotation. So the fluid inside just like rotates. So I add some keyframes like as I did, like go to the beginning. I hold Alt and click on the attribute that I want to animate. So you see that here rotation, I just want to rotate along this red circle. Red is X. So I hold Alt and click on rotation X to be animated. So it's good to not animate anything that is not needed. So it's simple. Yes, Carl. You have a question? Okay. So I hold Alt and press on that rotation. So I go to the end. Maybe I rotate it like one full, or like 180 degree, minus 180 degree. And as the auto key is on, it just gets automatically keyframe. If it doesn't, you see it turns blue, not green. If you want to add it manually, hold Alt and click, and that's as simple as that. So it just rotates, as simple as that. Okay, so I explained. So I pressed W in keyboard for so we have a fluid and we have a container. Okay, so let's turn. So what else I may missed? Okay, we've got. I'm gonna turn this smooth shaded on. So I just briefly explained this, like. Okay, so you remember that we created this render view. It's kind of like an IPR kind of renderer. Just make sure that I stop rendering so it doesn't keep processing. A good quick view rendering is this little icon, render region. You just click on that, you drag on the region that you want to render, and it just bang, it just starts rendering them. This is like, for those of you, well, for those people, industry people who has worked with XSI, Soft Image XSI, the legendary software that we used to work for many 3D productions. It's pretty much like that. It's so good. It's so easy, so comfortable. So you just click on that and just drag where you want to get a quick render. So sometimes you don't want to render the whole scene to see how it looks. You just want that specific, I don't know, eye. You just want to grab and circle and box drag around the eye and just get it rendered. These are snapping, which is self-explanatory. This is so if I will be on. I just want to close this one. If you would be on camera, whatever, so you don't need to hold Alt. It's basically, you just like, whatever you do is getting translated as camera movements. That is not quite often used, because the moment you press Alt, you see that it gets turned on temporarily, which is what we want. If you want to make a play blast, this is where you have to right click on the flip book and go to the flip book with settings, change the settings. So let's say from the frame range, output format, and make a play blast or preview, or as Houdini says, a flip book. Okay, so let's press W again. I want to select this fluid. I want to go to the part. So I go to the particle fluids, and I press this like icon, flip fluid from object. So this object is selected, and I press on that, and it just turns it into fluid. All of them is turned into fluid. Okay, so what has happened now? You see that suddenly loads of other nodes are added. First of all, when there are a lot of nodes, don't freak out. Just press L on keyboard. It just lays them out. So it just creates a nice layout, categorize them. Okay, so I have to stop and create a new Zoom session.